are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. We always appreciate you. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we're going to talk some U of A basketball. We're going to talk a little U of A baseball. We're going to talk about the overall health of the program. A lot of really good stuff to get to. But you know what? U of A basketball is what pays the bills around here. So we are going to talk some U of A hoops. And obviously, we all know Bennedict Mathurin declared for the NBA draft. Tommy Lloyd had his end-of-season press conference yesterday, and he talked about how he was about Christian Koloko and Dalen Terry. Those are certainly the guys that are on everybody's mind, on everybody's agenda, and he said that they're both still going through their decisions. Now, again, I don't have any real insight into this. If you hear the rumors, most people think Koloko is going to go. Most people think Dalen Terry is going to come back. So, let's just operate under that premise. And again, I have no clue if that's true or not. We're just going to operate under that premise just for fun. All right. So you look at the roster and who for sure would be back next year. And let's start in the backcourt and how they fare and what we really kind of need to see from them. Kerr Kriisa. So as we've talked about ad nauseum, Kerr is a lightning rod here in Tucson in that he has some really big moments. There's no doubt that he is a clutch performer. He embraces the big moment. There's no doubt about it. He is. There was too many games where he hit huge shots, whether that was Oregon, whether that was Illinois, and even if he doesn't make it, he clearly wants those shots. And so that's something that's obviously very important. Kerr is definitely a very valuable player going forward. Now, is he a starter? Is he a sixth man? Is he a rotation guy? What exactly is he right there? And that, I think, is the question that we'll find out this coming year. Because as good as he is, the shooting percentage needs to get better. He's at, he shot, I think, 35% from three, 34% from the field, or vice versa. That's just not good enough. And when you look at it, he's got the kind of shot, he's got the kind of rotation that should be able to have a better percentage. I mean, there's just no other way around it. So you need more out of Kerr Kriisa next year. Is he capable of doing that? I think he is. To what extent? We're going to find out. Pelle Larsson. My bad, Pelle. I thought you stunk. Early on, I was like, ugh. And I knew he was coming back from injury, but the game looked way too fast. It looked way too quick for him. I was wrong. Pelle Larsson, he has some limitations, no doubt. He's certainly not going to ever be a dynamic ball handler. He is a guy that, he can get sped up at times, but he's a really, really good shooter, as he showed toward the end of the year. And he's a very underrated defender. And, Arizona he doesn't possess great lateral quickness, but he's strong and he's able to get up in people's faces. And I think that certainly helped him. He's a guy that I think, going forward, I don't love him as a starter, but if he's another guy, if he's your sixth or seventh guy and he's playing 20 something minutes a game, I'm more than okay with that. And considering too, that he's got possibly 3 years of eligibility, and it didn't even factor in too, that he can really finish around the hoop. Not great, but certainly better than, I gave him credit for. So Pelle Larsson and Kerr Kriisa are both going to have valuable roles next year. All right, Dalen Terry. If Dalen Terry does come back, Dalen Terry needs to be the star of the team. Dalen Terry needs to be an all-conference player. Dalen Terry, heck, with the kind of potential he has, Dalen Terry needs to be a guy that can possibly put up conference player of the year type stats. 15 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, something like that. And I don't necessarily need him to be the closer in games, but I also need him to be the player that, how do I put this? The player that keeps Arizona in games, whether that's the steal, whether that's the block, whether that's the finish at the hoop, whether that's the pull-up, whether that's the open three. He's got all of that in his arsenal. Again, I don't need Salim Stoudemire out of him, but I definitely need a little bit more offensively. I'll put it to you like that. He is a guy, though, that you look at it and, he should bare minimum, he should be all conference if he comes back, and he should be a first-round pick. He's got that type of potential. One thing, too, that has potential is the GetUpside app. All right. Now, gas prices are astronomical right now. We all know that. It's something that I don't think anybody really wants to mess with. And so why not try to help yourself a little bit if you can? Why not try to help yourself and get a little bit, a little bit of less pain at the pump? So use the GetUpside app, and 25 cents off your first fill up. Use code word SCORE for college, and save yourself a little bit of money there. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, now moving into the front court. Azuolas Tubelis, you were all conference last year, and then you probably had the worst games of anybody possible in the NCAA tournament. I think this is a twofold thing. First of all, it was weird towards the end of the season to see Azuolas try to get outside of himself a little bit. This is a quiet, reserved kid, and he started, just doing things like, mocking the opponent, about being too short. And it's like, dude, that ain't you. That's inherent in some players. That's not inherent in Azuolas Tubelis. And quite frankly, once he got to the NCAA tournament, when he played some real players, TCU, Houston, he got punked. There's no way around it. He just got punked. He was scattershot. He couldn't hold on to the ball. He certainly looked scared at the moment. And that's something that he's got to address. As far as on the court, I'd like to see him get a little bit better finishing around the hoop. Tommy Lloyd talked about it last year, about when he's got a player in front of him to be able to physically push him and get to the hoop. Last year, good numbers for sure, but he's got a lot of ability. Assuming the mind gets right, I'd like to see him in that 17 point, 10 rebound realm, because he's certainly capable of doing that. He's got that type of talent. But it's also, I think it's imperative here for people to also know that, you got to stay in your lane at times. And too many times he got out of it, or at the end of the season, he got out of his lane and he got out of his comfort zone. And that's just not going to be good enough. You've got to just be who you are, Zoo. Okay. And Umar Balo. If there was a surprise of the season, it was probably Umar. Umar comes in from Gonzaga, and I'm going to be honest with you. Initially, I thought he was just going to be roster filler, a guy, practice guy, maybe plays a few minutes if somebody gets into foul trouble. But Umar turned out to be a player. Umar turned out to be a guy that I think could be, in the right situation as an upperclassman, maybe a senior, an all-conference type. Because here's the things that he's got going for him. He's definitely a defensive presence in the interior. He's able to finish around the hoop because he can just dunk the ball, which is, an underrated art in kind of the finesse big man game. Now, there are times, too, when the game gets a little too quick for him. We certainly saw that towards the end of the season. But I think an off-season where he's able to work with Lloyd on slowing the game down, he's able to work with Chris Rounds, continue to reshape the body a little bit, I think it's going to do wonders for him. I don't know if he's going to start. Probably have a guy coming in who, can't put his name out there, but he's probably going to be a starter. But Ballo is certainly that type of player. I'm a big fan, and hopefully we can get 3 more years out of the big man. Now, one other guy, too, that you need to obviously not keep an eye on, but is Dylan Anderson out of Phoenix. Okay. Dylan is kind of a fringe top 70 prospect. Started off as a top 10 type guy. Became a little bit too finesse. Started hanging out on the perimeter. I think he's going to do wonders, though, with Tommy Lloyd, because I think Tommy Lloyd's going to look at his skill set and say, listen, here's the template for what you're going to do. And he's going to come up with an example of somebody, not sure who, but he'll come up with an example of somebody and say, this is who you can be. This is what you can do. And I think when Dylan Anderson really starts to get the mindset of what he can do, I think you're looking at a guy that's going to be a multi-year starter. I just don't expect him to be there this early, because his body and his game certainly needs to be reshaped, but he's going to be up there. He's going to be a guy that's going to be able to help you. Now, one other thing that obviously can help you as well is Built Bar. Dylan Anderson, big kid, powerful kid, got a lot of ability, needs to get in the weight room. You know what? After that weight room workout, hit some Built Bar, because Built Bar is what will sustain you before the workout and after the workout. And here's the other thing. Built Bar tastes fantastic. It's great. You like everything about it. Just, it tastes like a candy bar, except it's got the necessary protein in it. Check out Built Bar. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of Arizona baseball. All right. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. Arizona baseball. So a lot of heads were scratching when Chip Hale was made the U of A baseball head coach. And so far, so good. U of A is ranked, I think, 15th in the country right now. And he certainly hasn't looked out of his realm at all. I didn't expect him to. Obviously, he's still got to find out whether he can recruit at the level that Jay Johnson did. But so far, so good. And if you've been out to a game, this is a team that if they get into the College World Series, can probably cause some problems. I mean, the pitching isn't great, but the bats are. And I think the future is bright. People haven't talked enough about U of A baseball. We're going to be talking about that a little bit more going forward on the show. But have a very happy weekend, everybody. And thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats.